So I have my drill outfitted with my drill bit. I'm going to start with popping out these rivets. I've never actually done this before, so we'll see how it works out. So this is the roll-up door. In today's job, hopefully just today, it may take longer than one day, but the task is to get this thing removed. If we look closely, the job has a few different parts that we'll have to work our way through. The roll-up door has a couple of different connection points. These guys here, which have rivets that we would have to drill our way through to pop them out to remove them. And then we have these hinges here, which are connected with these screws and bolts. We can remove the bolts and then pop this bad boy open on this side. Once we disconnect all of our connectors, we'll be able to simply roll it off section by section. If we look at the door, each one of those lines, it marks a different section that can be disconnected and then popped off one by one by one. We'll be working with the same drill that I used to make my pilot holes for the cutout between the cabin and the box. But we're going to use a much smaller drill bit. We'll work with these guys. It's much smaller drill bit in order to make our way through those rivets and get those popped out. This one may actually be too large. We'll see once we start working our way through it. And again, you want to make sure that all of these tools that you're using are made to cut their way through metal. About this drill method. I'm going to try the chisel method and see how that works. Because it'll be the easiest way, I think, to take it off. Because I think it'll be really heavy otherwise. And I have to get it off the tracks.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you take the blocks off?
Oh, and just roll the whole thing off? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that idea better. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise I can see that's going to take you...
a million years.
A million
years.
It's
going to be like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Just to do one.
Just to do one.
Yeah.
And it's going to come off. It's popping out, but it's going to take a long time. I think that's a good idea. Okay. So change of plan. I was going to take apart each section of the door, but then my roommate came out and had a really good suggestion and said I should just take off these guys instead. So I should just remove these guys instead and then roll the door off as a whole, which is a really great plan because then I can leave the door intact, and if someone wants to potentially buy the door, which would be an awesome way of getting rid of it because it's in really great shape, then there you go. I can sell the thing minus the one rivet I started taking out. So I do want to mention that the process of knocking off the end of this rivet, and then I don't know if you can see it up here, kind of, you can kind of see it, this guy right here. So the process of knocking off that end of the rivet and then beating it out with the screwdriver was definitely a feasible way to remove the rivets. But we have a new plan. We'll see how this plan works out. So for the new plan, we're going to use this guy, a ratchet, and as soon as I figure out what hex bolt works, we're going to remove the hex bolt from the end of these guys, pull that screw out, take the stoppers out, and then we'll be able to roll the door all the way out. Now, there is a cable. There is this cable right in here that we have to contend with, but I can just go ahead and snip this guy and I'll be able to roll the door all the way out of the way. Now it's super heavy, so I'm not going to attempt to do it by myself because the door will be way too heavy for me to move, but once I get those guys out and I get the cable snipped, I'll be able to take the door on down. Let's make it happen. Oh, first one is the winner. So I need to hold the bolt on the other side because both of them are turning at the same time. So I'm going to try these guys out, hold the other bolt in place while I detach the one at the bottom. First one out. Second one out. So now I'm going to cut that metal wire that's holding the door. What it does is it helps the door roll up smoothly and roll back down. So I'm going to try these 10 clips, see if these work. I also have these guys, which are used for cutting wire. They may not be strong enough, but we'll experiment, see what happens, see which one gets the job done. So I'm getting a little nervous that those metal wires is the only thing that's keeping that door from flying down on my head. So I'm going to put some safety braces in place just in case that's what's happening here. Oh, and cutting through that first one went super well with the 10 snips. it in, but I think it's probably secure enough. Hit it with the 10 snips. I was right. So I was 100% right about the door. As soon as I snapped that last metal wire, the door came down, but the wooden stop that I put in place kept it from falling on my head and crushing me. Things you want to note, when you snip those metal wires, the reaction is pretty violent because there's a lot of tension in that metal wire. So you want to be careful. You don't want to disconnect those while your door is rolled down. That is a snapped, flying wild wire waiting to hit you in the face. So you want to make sure that the door is up when you disconnect those wires. I wouldn't even recommend trying to take those pins out. There's pins that hold it in place, and I'll show you what those look like. I don't even recommend taking those pins out, because as soon as that wire is disconnected, it's gonna fly like crazy, and there's a lot of tension in that metal wire. It will easily do damage to your body. This is what the metal wires look like after you snap it. So it's this whole pulley system here that helps you roll the door up and down, because it is not a light thing to contend with. It's pretty heavy. So these guys make it easier for you to roll the door up and down, and there's a lot of tension in that wire. So as soon as I snapped the wire, this thing went flying like crazy and completely unraveling from its spool there. So the next plan now is to roll the metal door out of the frame here and try to remove it. All right, so we're gonna try to roll this thing down, one on each end. It's so heavy. Oh man.
Got it? Oh boy.
Here we go.
I'm backing up.
Okay.
I'm out of the way.
Okay.
You want to just see what happens?
Yes, let's see what happens.
Okay.
Alright, let's see. Oh god, I'm so nervous.
Yeah, you might just have to jump back somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. You're clear, right?
I'm all the way at the cab.
Okay.
You're like right on the edge of coming off.
Okay.
Okay? There goes one. We're alive! Oh my, that was exciting.
That was so dramatic.
That was better. That was way faster.
That was way faster. That would have taken me more.
Okay,
Nice.
that's that.
We did it.
Woohoo! I'd high
Yes.
five you, but I'm disgusting. Oh, okay.
Show the camera our gross hands. Yeah. Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome.
got my truck, I was like, what am I going to use a ramp for? That is what I'm going to use a ramp for. So that whole process went pretty well. Like, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to take me days, and it probably would have taken me days to remove each of those rivets, to remove that door section by section, but it proved a lot smarter to remove the whole door at one time. And though there were many scary moments, it actually was not that bad. We got the door out, we got it removed, and the door is intact still, which is really, really great. Other things that I would mention to you if you are going to take this route, I already told you to make sure you cut the cables with the door fully rolled up. Make sure that you have a second person to do this job with you, because doing it by yourself may not be the smartest solution. One of the things I would have done differently, I would have taken the side rails off before I took the roll-up door off, if I could do it again, because as the door came down, it really hit those side rails a lot. It made those walls shake. I don't think that it would have enough power to bend the doors or bend the walls out of shape, potentially, but if it would have happened, I wouldn't have been surprised by it. So yeah, that's something I would do differently if I could rewind the clock and do this one more time. More good videos to come, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. I still haven't figured out what side of the screen it's on, so here or here, hit that subscribe button, and follow me on Instagram, Summer Seeking, and that's it.